what seemed to be a done deal is far from over. Amazon's HQ2 location in Queens, New York is drawing further controversy, and Amazon, even with its massive market cap and the support of New York's governor and mayor, faces one obstacle that may be strong enough to stand in the way of the deal. Joining us now is New York State Senator Michael Gianaris, and you're here to explain your viewpoint. You've gotten a lot of interesting coverage throughout this week, and it all really started on Monday. Tell us about your journey and why you are taking on Amazon.
Well, first of all, I live in the community and represent the community where this project is proposed. And the problem was that what Amazon kicked off over a year ago was a secretive process forcing the state to sign a non-disclosure agreement. We couldn't get any information about what this deal was going to involve until it was publicly announced. And then, boy, when it was announced, was the backlash severe. $3 billion in subsidies for the biggest corporation we have in this country at a time when our subways are crumbling, we don't have enough school seats, the housing market is in a crisis right there in Long Island City. And to drop 25 to 40,000 people into that community without any concern for the surrounding infrastructure makes it a bad deal.
So for those who are watching who don't know the nitty-gritty, you have been appointed to the Public Authorities Control Board by your fellow Democratic senators, and this happened on Monday. Was this really just to take on Amazon's HQ2, and do they really have full confidence in you that you'll be able to make sure that it doesn't happen?
Well, no, I don't think anyone should read too much into it. This is an important board that approves many economic development projects throughout the state. I happen to be in the leadership of the Senate. I'm the deputy leader in the state Senate, and so I think my majority leader, Andrea Stewart-Cousins, saw fit to appoint me to discharge this important role. We don't even know, according to the governor's own words, whether this project is coming before the control board. I believe it's required. Most people do, but he made statements as recently as yesterday saying that they may construct this deal in a way to bypass the control board entirely. So I have a responsibility, if my appointment is confirmed by the governor, to have an opinion about all these economic development projects, not just Amazon, and maybe not even Amazon if he doesn't put it before the board.
I mean, speaking of Governor Cuomo, he has been on the record saying he would change his name to Amazon Cuomo from Andrew Cuomo if this deal were to be done. For someone who has that kind of a strong vocal opinion about this should be happening, how are you really going to stand up against the mayor and governor in that case?
Look, I don't work for them. I work for the people of Queens and in the leadership of the Senate for the people of the state. So I'm going to do what I think is the best thing to do and the right thing to do. Look, people, it's not just me. Mike Bloomberg just the other day said that this was a bad deal and they were probably coming without the subsidies. $3 billion is a lot of money, and we could do a lot of good with it here in New York rather than giving it to Jeff Bezos and building him helipads.
One of the things that comes up a lot in this discussion is just looking at Seattle as a city, given that that's HQ1, and the homelessness crisis, the rising rents, just people not being able to afford to live in their native city. When you look at the landscape for Amazon, even outside of HQ2, what is your assessment of the company going forward? Do you consider it a monopoly?
Well, it's pretty darn close, and it's driving out small businesses out of business by the day. But I visited Seattle last summer and got a real acute sense of it. And spoke since to a number of Seattle council people to get a sense of what it's meant there. And they are very unhappy with the consequences of Amazon in Seattle. It's completely transformed that city, and not in a good way. Street homelessness up over 160% in 5 years. When the city council dared to try and do something to provide more homeless services, Amazon threw its weight behind rolling that back, and they succeeded, unfortunately. Now, some of big tech is starting to get it. Microsoft just announced they're going to invest $500 million for affordable housing in Seattle. Now, that's the kind of conversation we need to have. If Amazon wants to come to New York, they should have a conversation about what would make them a responsible corporate neighbor. What would they do? What would they invest in our communities to make sure that the community can handle this influx of people? Instead, they're trying to take every dollar out of our public treasury that they can.
And actually, you have been sending out a marked up DIY flyer. I just want to pull up a full screen because I think it is just visually very interesting. It says, "Dear neighbor, you may have recently received this mailing from Amazon," and it's basically marked up kind of like a teacher's handwriting. Tell us more about this strategy and what you're trying to accomplish by distributing these.
Well, Amazon has been spending a lot of money littering our neighborhood with propaganda mailers and trying to figure out how best to respond and make the people receiving it understand that what they're saying is not accurate information, rather than just send out another generic piece of mail that makes that point, we thought the best way for people to understand it was to show what they did, mark it up, show where they made mistakes, and put the real information there for them.
It's almost like journalism.
It's like journalism, and it's been a big hit. People love it. So
thank you so much, Senator Gianaris. Please join us again soon.
Thank you, Melody.